Now, if you want to be able to create a new drawer, that's very simple as well. I just right-click on the cabinet that I'd like to add the drawer to, and I go down here to New Drawer. Now, let's say I'm creating a new drawer inside the Human Resources filing cabinet. So let's say we just hired a new employee, and his name is Derek Crane. Now, this allows me to be able to put in his name here, and then I can put a profile. And what profiles do is profiles allows me to be able to put in some information about that entity. Now remember earlier we talked about an entity. An entity is a drawer, a file, or folder, but profiles allow me to put in information about that entity inside the system. And this information is searchable. So for example, I'm going to put in Crane, Derek, and I can put in an address if I'd like to. Put in a and then for the hire date, I can make some of this information required. So there's a little star there. That means that this information is required. And you'll see that the format is a standard default for a text. So I can put in his hire date, and we'll say that his hire date was on September 9th, 2010. And there's a termination date, and we just hired him, so obviously I won't do a termination date. But I can put in all this information and apply this to Derek Crane's drawer that I've just created. And where this becomes really powerful, as I save this, and we'll go over templates in just a second, but as you can see, here's this profile with that information that we just put in there. Where this becomes really powerful is if you go over inside the advanced search like we did before, and down here the profile section we can select human resources, and now what this allows me to do is this allows me to say, you know what, if I want to look at all the employees that were hired on September 9th 2010, this allows me to be able to search for that, and this is going to bring up Derek Crane's drawer because that's the day that he was hired. So the profiles allow you to be able to search for a specific employee, and you know, human resources could find profiles beneficial. Some other particular businesses that would find something like that beneficial is like accounts receivable, accounts payable, where you need to put in check numbers or purchase order numbers, or if you have information about a particular, like if you're manage some vehicles and you need to put some VIN numbers in there and things like that. There's lots of different ways to be able to put in criteria that's searchable to find documents related to that information later on. That's where profiles become quite powerful. Now, Derek Crane was the drawer that we just created. Now, before I start showing you how to store documents inside of Derek Crane's, one of the things I wanted to show you was a thing called templates. You saw a pop-up window a little bit ago that kind of showed some of the, that asked me if I'd like to apply a template to his drawer. What templates does is it allows me to be able to apply a specific structure or organization to a given drawer. And what I mean by that is, like, let's look at Julius Caesar's drawer. Now, Julius Caesar, he has a bunch of information inside of his drawer. He has a correspondence folder, he has an employee information, evaluations, different folders to be able to organize and store the information stored inside of the system. And I like this. I like this structure because it allows me, it's a little bit cleaner. It allows me to easily find the information that I'm looking for. If I want to apply that structure quickly, I don't want to have to go in here manually and click, you know, new folder, new folder, new folder. What I can do is I could just right click on this and go to apply template, and this will show me a list of predefined structures. You can customize this so that different templates show up so that when you're trying to apply a template, you can see what kind of organization you would like to apply to a specific drawer. So I select the personnel records, and you can see what it will do is add these folders inside of his drawer. And that's what I'd like to do. So I just click apply. It gives me a little preview. I click apply. And so instead of manually going in there and just selecting, creating a new folder individually, it just allows me at a click of a button to be able to create this structure. And this is really nice for speed. Obviously, it was much quicker for me to just apply a template as opposed to manually going in there and creating each folder individually. But it also is great for some consistency. This allows, if multiple users are trying to create drawers or like to organize drawers, that there's some consistency in the way that they structure or organize those. So that's what templates does. So now that I have this set up, now I can start storing documents inside of here. So I've added these folders. Now I'm going to start putting files inside of Derek Crane's drawer here. Now I mentioned earlier that there's two types of documents that you typically store inside of eFileCabinet. There's those documents that are the hard physical paper documents that need to be scanned in, and then there's the documents that are already in a digital format. Those are your Excel spreadsheets, your Microsoft Word documents, your media files, things like that. Well, first I'm going to show you how to get those documents in that need to be scanned in, to get those into eFileCabinet. Now let's say that Derek Crane filled out an application. He filled an application using the pen and paper inside of our office. He filled that out, and I want to store that application inside of his drawer. Well, what I need to do is I need to have a scanner. So I walk over to the scanner, and I put those documents inside the scanner. Then I come back to my desk, and I go here to this eFileCabinet scanner, the eFile scanner application that's there. And this program works with your scanner to be able to bring those documents into eFileCabinet. And so it's very simple and very easy to do. You just simply put those documents into the scanner, and you come up here and you select the scan icon. What that's going to do is that's going to send a signal over to the scanner and tell it to start scanning those documents through. So it's going to scan the documents through the scanner. Once they're done scanning, they're going to pop up here on the screen here. And this is really nice because this allows you to be able to make sure that the documents were actually scanned in the right way up, that you didn't scan them in upside down. It gives you a nice little preview of them. There is some minor editing you can do here. You can do a drag and drop. You can also right click and rotate the pages if you need to, things like that. But once this document's ready to be stored inside the system, all you need to do is come up here and select the store icon. What that's going to do is that's actually going to switch you over to your eFileCabinet, and it's going to say, you've just selected a document that you'd like to store. Where would you like to store it? So I can type in Crane here, right? So that's the name of the drawer that I want to be able to store. It brings up Derek Crane, and I say I want to store this inside of him. I want to store this in the employee information folder. That's typically where I store applications for employees. Now I can name this document whatever I want to as I'm about to store it. You'll notice that there's some predefined document names down here on the bottom here. And this is great because what this does is this allows some consistency. It allows it to be much quicker to be able to store documents inside the system. And so I can just select a name at a click of a button. And this helps me so that I don't accidentally misspell the document. It also is much more quicker and much more efficient to do it this way. And just as an FYI, these predefined document names, where the system is getting these from is the templates. Now remember, when we created the templates earlier, we automatically create the folder structure inside of here, but also when you add a template, it allows you to allow predefined document names for each one of these folders. And so you can apply or set up different predefined document names for different folders. So these are the names of documents that are most commonly stored in these folders. So I'll just display that as application. I don't want to give a profile to that particular document, so I click Save. And you can see here's that application that we just scanned in. So I know we went through a couple processes, and it took a little bit longer because I was explaining everything as we were going along the way, but it's actually a very quick and very efficient way to be able to store your scanned documents. Basically all you do is you put the documents into the scanner, you select Scan, you select Store, and then you just tell the system where you'd like to store those documents. It's that simple, that easy. So alright, now that we've stored a scanned document inside of the system, I want to show you how to get documents in that are already in a digital format. And those are very simple, and there's a couple of ways to be able to do that. Probably one of the easiest ways to get documents in that are already in a digital format is to come up here to the store icon. If I select the store icon, it's actually going to launch my Windows browser, which basically allows me to be able to browse to that document that I'd like to store. So if I want to go to my desktop where it's stored, or I can go to my documents, it allows me to be able to do that. But once I browse to that document, I can select one document, or I can select multiple documents, by the way, and store them all in separate locations if I'd like to. But all I need to do is just basically select the document that I'd like to store and select Open. And what this is going to do is this is going to say, okay, where would you like to store this document? So when you do this, it remembers the drawer that you were in. So I was inside the employee information folder for Derek Crane, so it remembers that, which is really nice. And this is his resume that he emailed to me earlier, so I just select it from the pick list here. Again, I don't want to give it a profile. And I click Save. And now you can see that here's that resume that he emailed over to me that was already in a digital format. It's very easy to be able to store that as well. So very quickly, all you need to do is select Store and then browse to the location of that particular document. Now, we have a couple other ways to be able to get it in as well. One of them is what we call drag and drop. Now, this is a feature that allows you to basically take a document, and you can take it from your desktop here, for example, and I can drag it inside of eFileCabinet. It's going to ask me if I want a profile. I'm going to say no. Click Save. And there's a sample media file that I just stored inside of Derek Crane's drawer right there. So I just dragged it from my desktop inside of eFileCabinet. So that's another way to get documents in. By the way, drag and drop works. If I want to drag it to a different folder, I can do that as well. You'll see I just moved it from employee information to here. You can also drag entire directories. So for example, let's say Julius Caesar. He's in our human resources filing cabinet because he's an employee. But let's say that we just recently terminated him, and so let's move him over into the archives. So I could just grab his entire drawer and move it over into the archives. And so it allows me to be able to do that. You can also drag outside of eFileCabinet. So let's say I wanted to take Julius Caesar's system, and I just want to drag that to my desktop. I can do that. And then you can see it just pops up right there as I drag that document out onto my desktop. So drag and drop is another great way to be able to manage documents inside the system. Now there's another tool that I'd like to talk about on how to get documents into eFileCabinet, and that's using our Print to eFileCabinet. What the Print to eFileCabinet option allows you to do is it allows you to print documents to eFileCabinet. And this is great for documents like if you're using a tax software or a web program or anything that you print from. If you just want to, instead of printing out a report, you just want to print that document directly to eFileCabinet. That's what this allows you to do. Let me just show you how that works real quick. So I'm going to go to this web page. Let's say, again, we did this background check on Derek Crane. This is a website that we subscribe to, let's say, to be able to do that. I just go to File, Print, select eFileCabinet as my printer. I select OK, and then what this is going to do is this is actually going to take this document and convert it into a PDF, and then it's going to launch that window that basically says where would you like to store this document. So I want to put this in Derek Crane's drawer, so I just type in Crane, it finds his drawer, and I say I want to put this inside of employee information, so I call this background check, and I click Save. And you can see here's the background check document that we just printed to eFileCabinet. If we select it, you can see here it is. It shows up here. So another great way to get documents into eFileCabinet, just to print to eFileCabinet. And again, this will work with any program that you can print from. Your tax software, web programs, legal software, anything you can print from. You can print it to eFileCabinet to capture that information and store it inside the system.